Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, all of you. Today we will continue with the civics chapter, fundamental rights and fundamental duties. And till now we have already had a look at what fundamental rights are, what is the importance of these rights, and what these 6 fundamental rights are, which are given to us by our constitution. So we had a look at that. Now today we will have a look at what is the nature of these fundamental rights which are guaranteed to us or given to us by the constitution. Alright, so open your books to page 226, nature of fundamental rights. Now first is that fundamental rights are universal in application. Now what that universal in application means, that they apply to all citizens living in a country, alright, without any discrimination on the basis of any difference that we might have. Now people differ because we follow different religions, we live in different regions, we speak different languages, we follow different like I said, we follow different religions, and we belong to different castes, and our gender is different, our economic status is different, education is different. So no matter what difference we might have, but these fundamental rights are guaranteed to all the citizens. Second, the fundamental rights are justiciable. Now, justiciable means that if your rights are violated, you can go to the courts to get your rights back restored to you. So, if our fundamental rights are violated, we can go to the high courts and to the Supreme Court to get our rights back to us. Okay, then fundamental rights are not absolute. Now this we have already seen when we were doing right to constitutional remedies, that the fundamental rights are not absolute, means it is not that we have these rights without any limit. So there is a certain restriction, a certain limit placed on every right. Now this is done for the larger interest or the interest of the whole country or society. We can exercise our rights, but we can exercise our rights only till the limit that we are not hurting or harming other person. And so that is why the right to freedom under Article 19, now it is limited to the extent that it is not harmful to the other person. So we have the freedom, alright, we have the right to freedom. We have the, under the right to freedom, we have the freedom of speech and expression, and we have the freedom of freedom to assemble together, and we have the freedom to form associations and unions. We have the freedom to follow any profession of a choice and all that. So like if we have the freedom of speech and expression, that does not mean we can go on saying even bad things for another person and defame a person, or bring a bad reputation to that person, or like though we have the freedom to follow any profession or any trade or business of a choice, but that does not mean we can indulge in illegal trades. Alright, so these are the restrictions that are placed on the fundamental rights. Then some of the rights, like the right to freedom, now this also we have done, that they can be suspended temporarily, means it is only for a while that they can be suspended, and this is during an emergency, means when there is a danger of war, or there are internal disturbances, or there is civil war, means people of the same country fighting with each other. So in these cases the right to freedom can be suspended or can be taken back for a while, but once everything is settled, then these rights are restored back to us. Then there are certain laws which limit the rights in public interest. Now to do this, certain laws have been passed, like the Maintenance of the Internal Security Act, the Defense of India Rules, the Preventive Detention Act, etc. Now all these laws, they exist to safeguard the interest of the nation and to lessen these rights to a great extent. Now basically the rights which I mentioned just now, obviously we don't have to go much in detail. Now these rights are mentioned here. Now these rights exist so that the interest of the whole nation, now they can be safeguarded. It is not that to give me my rights we can compromise with the unity and the security of the country. No, it is not like that. And so to safeguard the interest of the country and to lessen the impact of these rights and to put a limit to these rights, certain laws have been passed. And the Indian Parliament, they have also passed another law which is called as the National Security Act, and this is to safeguard the interest and the security of the nation. So the interest and the security of the nation is above individual freedom, all right, because we will be able to exercise our freedom only when the country is secure, all right, and when the country is developing, the people in the country they are happy, then only we will be able to properly exercise our rights. And so certain laws have been passed, all right, keeping in view the interest of the general public and the interest of the nation and the security of the country. Now however, the operation of these measures have been restricted. So though these laws have been passed, but still only a competent authority like a court of law, now only they can authorize or they can give official permission for all these tasks. It is not that any person can go about doing this, but only those people who have been authorized officially, they can go about doing this. Okay, now we have talked about fundamental rights that we have, but there is also another side of the same coin, and that is the fundamental duties. Now fundamental rights and fundamental duties, they go hand in hand, or you can say they are the two sides of the same coin, and every right carries with itself a duty. So with every right that is given to us by a constitution, we have a certain duty to fulfill, and it is only possible when we are doing our duties, then only we can enjoy our rights. Now if you are not doing our or performing our duties, then obviously we will not be able also to enjoy our rights. Rights and duties both are equally important. It is not only that we take, we also have to give something back to our country. So the constitution of a country, they have laid down certain duties for the citizens, and so these duties also, these are called as fundamental duties, very important, necessary, and of central importance. So we have to perform these duties. The first one is respect our national symbols. So as good citizens of the country, we need to respect our constitution, follow the constitution, and respect the ideals and the institutions, the national flag, the national anthem. So we need to respect that. Then follow noble ideals. Under this, what we have to do, we have to cherish, means we have to hold very dear to us, and we have to follow and protect and take care of the noble ideals that inspired our national struggle for independence. So while the people, they were fighting for our country's independence, they were inspired by ideals, and we need, it is not only that now we have got independence so we let go of those ideals. No, we have to hold those ideals very dear to us, and even follow them and protect them even today. Then to keep sovereignty intact. All right, now this is also one of our fundamental duties, that we need to uphold and protect the sovereignty, the freedom, the unity, and the integrity of India. Integrity means the moral and ethical code of India. Now India stands on certain moral principles. Now we need to respect that, and we need to uphold that and follow that. So we need to work and protect for the freedom, for the unity, and for the integrity of our country. Then we need to promote harmony, oneness, and the spirit of brotherhood among the people of India. Now like we have talked about so many times about the differences that we might have, but still we belong to one country, and so we should have this feeling of oneness and brotherhood with all the people living in our country, irrespective of religious differences or linguistic, language-based differences or regional differences. So without irrespective of all these differences, we should have this feeling of oneness and brotherhood with all the people of our country. Then to preserve rich heritage. Now our culture is called a composite culture, means it is made up of several parts. It is not just one. People live in different regions, they follow different traditions and cultures, and so we need to preserve and value this composite rich heritage of a composite culture. So we need to preserve that and value our traditions and culture. Then we need to protect our environment, very important. Alright, so we need to protect and improve the national environment. Now this includes the forests, lakes, rivers, wildlife, and also have compassion for all living creatures. So this is also our fundamental duty. Then we need to have a scientific spirit, not following the age old superstitions, but we need to have a scientific temper. Now what that means is to have a logical, rational and scientific way of thinking. Milk boiling over, obviously how can it bring about something bad? All right, it is just simply milk boiling over, and only bad thing that can happen out of it is that you need to clean up the whole area. All right, but obviously there is no scientific principle or logical principle as if the milk boils over, so something bad is going to happen. So we need to not simply follow blindly the superstitions, but we need to have a reasoning, a logical, a scientific mind, and we need to have humanism, means the human values and dignity. We should have that, and also the spirit of inquiry, means not only complacent with what you know, but we need to have that strong desire to know more and to even reform ourselves and change ourselves if necessary. Then to protect public property. So it is our responsibility that we protect the public property. You must have seen people many times misusing the public property, like railway stations and bus stations and these historical monuments. They spit everywhere, and they write and scribble, even on these historical monuments. Everywhere you go, there is so much littering around, and so people, they don't take care. So it is our fundamental duty to protect our public property and to abjure violence, means to stay away from violence, to renounce, to refuse to indulge in violence of any kind. Then defending the country. So if need arises, then all of us should be ready to defend the country and render, means provide national service. Means if something happens, and God forbid if something happens, and the country, they ask that more and more people should come to join the army. So we should be ready to fight for our country. And the 10th and the last fundamental duty is striving towards excellence. So what it means is that as not only as individual, but as a group and as a country also, we need to continuously strive, work really hard to excel in all spheres of our life, whether individual or collective, whether as individuals or as a society or as a group or as a country. We need to really work hard to excel in all spheres of our life. And nothing we can get without paying a price. We cannot go and buy, you cannot go and buy a chocolate without paying money for it. The shopkeeper, he will not give it to you. So we don't get anything without paying a price, so we have to pay a price. And every right implies some duty. The word is wrongly written there, you can correct it. It is implies, implies. Every right implies some duty. So what it means is that every right indicates that some duty exists along with it. So with every right comes a duty. Now these duties, what is the use of these fundamental duties? These duties, they make us good citizens, responsible citizens, and Now these duties, they have been added to make us more patriotic, having love for the country, love for our motherland, and ready to fight and defend our country, even at the cost of giving up our lives for the sake of our country. So these duties have been added to make the citizens patriotic and make them realize the freedom and the integrity, the freedom, the unity and the integrity of the country. Now these duties have been added also to promote the idea of oneness, to promote the idea of harmony in India, so that we as a nation, as a country, can become more strong. Alright, okay, so now the above duties which we have just seen, the fundamental duties, now they are contained in part 4a of the constitution, and as we have seen above, they basically tell that what the state, means the country, the nation, it expects from the citizens in return for the rights which are given to us in part 3 of the constitution. So the fundamental duties that we have seen, now they are basically what the country, it expects from us as citizens, alright, in return for the fundamental rights that we have got, which are written in part 3 of the, or which are contained in part 3 of the constitution. But some critics, they doubt that whether including these duties, they will serve any purpose or not. Now some people are of the view that maybe it will not bring about much change. Why? The criticisms are that some of these duties have not been clearly worded. Some feel that some of the duties, they are not clear. Words like scientific temper and humanism, now they can be interpreted in many ways. So some people think that some of these words are not clearly explained, and so it cannot bring about the desired change. Then people also feel that there is no coercive machinery. Coercive means there is no forceful machinery for the enforcement of these duties. These duties are there, but there is no machinery, no system that if we don't do these duties, then we have to face the repercussions. There is nothing like that. So people feel that because there is no forceful machinery for the enforcement of these duties, so most of the people, they don't perform these duties. And some people say that the chapter on the duties, it will remain only a pious or a holy hope till some more changes, some more amendments and additions are made to part 4a of our constitution. But this is not justified. Why? Because nothing can be got without paying a price. We have already seen we only get when we pay a price, and if we want certain rights, then obviously we need to perform certain duties also. And every rights come with a duty, and these duties not only make us good, but they also make us responsible citizens. Then fundamental duties have put the fundamental rights in the right perspective. Because of these fundamental duties, we can see the fundamental rights in the right point of view. Now we know that okay, these rights come with certain duties. So it is not only that we go on exercising our rights, but now we understand that in return we also have to perform certain duties. Okay, so they both the things balance each other out. Then fundamental duties, they have been added to make us more patriotic and also to realize the freedom, the importance of the freedom and the moral ethics of our country. And the fundamental duties, they have been incorporated, they have been added in the Constitution of India to promote the idea of oneness, to promote the idea of brotherhood among the people in this land, which is full of diversities. India is a diverse country. So the fundamental duties, they have been incorporated to promote the idea of oneness and harmony and to strengthen the nation. Alright, so for today we'll stop here. Have you understood what we have done today? Yes, class?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Is it clear to
Yes,
all of you?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Alright.